run away with the GNCC Series in 2002. With his third win at the last round in Sparta, Kentucky, he now has a 24-point lead over second place Mike Lafferty. Series rolls into Ohio for the Scarecrow GNCC. Can the series points leader leave Ohio with win number 4? From Ulrichsville, Ohio, welcome to the Scarecrow GNCC presented by Suzuki Racing, round number 7, Grand National Cross Country Series. Dave Reef along with 5-time Grand National Cross Country motorcycle champion Scott Summers taking a look at the grid today, which once again feature all the top dogs, including that Jason Raines.
You know, this is a pretty thick, talented field. There's probably more competition than over 2 decades of GNCC racing.
Keep your eyes on that number 7 machine belonging to Mike Lafferty. The last time he was in contention to win a race and ended up not winning it, well, he came back and won 1 week later. Like to do it again today.
And, you know, today I'm just going to ride my own race. I'm going to be up front, and that's what I did when I won my first race. I was up front, I controlled the whole race, you know, and I felt comfortable the entire time, whether someone got around me or not. And I think I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to put the hammer down early, and I'm going to floor it, you know, and that's pretty much my strategy, and let all those guys play catch up. And if they're there at the end, great. If not, you know, better luck for them next time.
If only, Scott, though, it were that easy.
You know, Mike's got a lot of confidence in his voice now, which he deserves to have. He's the only guy that's finished inside the top 5 at every round thus far, and we're over halfway through this season.
Closest guy to him would, of course, be Jason Raines, who has had 1 finish outside the top 5, but the difference there being Jason has 2 more wins.
Absolutely.
Therefore, the points lead. Right behind Steve Hatch as we get set to turn him loose.
Got a long uphill start, and it's going to be dry, probably going to be dusty. Steve Hatch on the outside. Wasn't sure who that was on the inside. Jimmy Jarrett on a Yamaha.
Great start for 17, the 15 right behind him. That's Doug Blackwell. Great start for him. Some new faces at the front of the pack so far.
Yeah, and this race is pretty close to Fred Andrews' turf, and I saw he looked like he was about 6th or 7th heading up the hill, contending with some dust.
Jason Raines a good start in 3rd as you take a look at Fred Andrews. Mired back in the pack a little bit, but we've said all along we're used to seeing him charge. 10.2 miles, the Scarecrow GNCC.
You know, Steve Johnson owns this facility. He's a longtime employee of Wiseco, a longtime sponsor of this series. He knows how to lay out a track. We're talking about technical hills, a big open motocross track, which is probably going to be dusty, and of course thousands of trees.
Didn't take long for Jason Raines to establish himself as the man to beat, moving from 3rd to 1st. Waiting on that 2nd place guy, and you can see he's already pulled a pretty good gap over Jimmy Jarrett.
That's a pretty good lead, and also some very conservative riding going on here. These guys aren't going that fast, which means there's some things in there where a guy could get stuck and ruin his race.
Blackwell has fallen to 4th as the MX Kid has moved into 3rd. Woodford drops his position to 4th as Andrews makes his way to 6th.
And Rodney Smith didn't have the best of starts, followed by Randy Hawkins.
Hawkins working the Yamaha through the mud hole. Steve Hatch off the pace again. This would make his 4th DNF in 2002 to go along with that 1 win. Just a disappointing season for the FMF rider.
You know, Steve's only finished 1 race in the top 20 out of the first 7. Very uncharacteristic for a guy who finished 4th overall in the series last year.
But you know, it's been that kind of season for Suzuki. Kudrowski started the year with a 26th place finish before getting on track, and Rodney Smith has had a 31st place finish. So been tough all the way around. Jimmy Jarrett still holding on to the number 2 spot. Next kid, though, tracking him down.
Doug Blackwell on the big Honda 450 thumper, followed by Chuck Woodford and Fred Andrews and then Robbie Jinks. Rodney Smith, Mike Lafferty in tow. Big group of riders pretty close together.
Jason Raines out of the woods now, down onto the open portion of this racetrack. He's on the gas, leading the Yamaha of Jim Jarrett, the Suzuki of Mike Kudrowski, Doug Blackwell on the Honda, and Chuck Woodford on the Kawasaki. Today's Grand National Cross Country Race, the Scarecrow GNCC, is brought to you by Suzuki, maker of innovative motorcycles and all-terrain vehicles. And by MSR Off-Road Riding Apparel, innovative off-road riding apparel for riders with a single-track mind since 1971. Back in Ohio, Jason Raines hammering down the hill, continues to be your race leader. Oh, that Yamaha.
I think Jason kind of likes being up front. He's got the feel for it, and he just seems to keep doing it.
Certainly spent enough time there this season. Doug Blackwell, meanwhile, holding on to the number 4 spot.
Doug hasn't spent much time up in the top 5 this year, so he's got to be excited. Maybe he's getting a big Honda kind of dialed in for GNCC racing.
Here comes Fred Andrews moving up a position. Now he's looking at 4th, straight ahead of him. Mike Kudrowski,
the only GNCC rider to win a 125, 250, and 500 National Motocross Championship here in America. And Jim Jarrett, who actually rode a KTM earlier in the year, has switched over to Yamaha and seems to be riding a little bit better.
Kudrowski's taken that position, 2nd away from Jarrett. Did it back in the woods sections. Now we've got a battle for 4th. Andrews is caught up to 15. So is Rodney Smith, the other of the FMF Suzuki trio.
You kind of get a feel for how dusty it is in the open areas. You know, when you get back in the woods, the trees kind of hold the moisture in the ground and the visibility's better. But when these guys are cranking across these fields, they have somebody in front of them, they're in trouble because they can't see very well.
Here comes Andrews with a look on the inside. Not this time, he'll settle back. As we go on board with Mark Hyde, you can see that Doug Blackwell's got everything he can handle from Fred Andrews.
You know, Fred won a GNCC championship, but it happened about 9 years ago, and Fred was riding a Yamaha at that time. Just about every year since then, Fred's pulled off some wins in this series, but hadn't been able to put it together for a championship.
But right now it's time to profile the man who's running in the number 2 spot. It's Suzuki's Mike Kudrowski.
The big deal is it's a totally different type of racing. That's why they have GNCC racing, motocross, flat track, road racing, all that. It's all different, and it takes a different riding skill to do it. The hardest part was trying to miss all the trees, you know, and trying to go fast at the same time. So you think, well, you know, I go through the trees, I'm just going to gas it wide open and just weave through them. But it's kind of, then you end up clipping one eventually. So it's kind of like you got to pace yourself and work the way through the trees and just staying up for 3 hours. The advantage to Team Suzuki is that we have a lot of sponsors at our fingertips that we use, and they want to be aboard our team and stuff like that. So to be associated with them makes it a lot easier, and there's a status here. I mean, Team Suzuki's always up in front. It's going to come eventually, and I'm just trying to work on it, and when it does, and hopefully, you know, I mean, I'll continue what I'm doing. I'm right up front now all the time. I've had one bad race, I think, at Kentucky, but the rest of them have been real consistent in the top 4. So, you know, when the win comes, it comes, and I'm not stressing out on it, and everybody's putting pressure on me and stuff like that. I work hard during the week, and when it comes, I'll deserve it.
Just might come today the way Kudrowski's riding in 2nd. Here's some of the fans out on the course cheering on the Suzuki rider. Blackwell has fallen back to 6th as we've got one stuck in the mud pretty deep there. Not sure who that is.
500 riders and circulate them around the same course. There's some wear and tear, and if you go in the wrong spot, this is what happens. This poor guy's parked.
Jason Raines isn't parked though. He's got it wide open. He seems to get more and more confidence every week.
Yeah, Jason's 23, so he's pretty new to the series. Not new to the series, but he's kind of a new guy compared to the other guys who've been doing it for maybe as long as 10 years.
Curious what Cole Calkins was doing there, stopping for a brief pause. Back underway. Rodney Smith, the defending champ.
Followed by Barry Hawk.
Physical as this racing series is too, it's got to be as much mental, making sure you're paying attention to what's coming up in front of you on this racetrack.
Yeah, and it's easy to get tensed up, you know. You start thinking, oh, I need to be doing better than I am, and next thing you know, you're holding on too tight, and then you get arm pump, and then the bike gets harder to ride. So the best thing you can do is relax. But you have to get into a rhythm, and you have to keep working. Fred Andrews seems to be the guy that's doing that. He's just kind of chipping away and slowly gaining on Jason Raines. When you're leading, you have something to lose. So you ride a little bit more conservatively. When you're not leading, you have nothing to lose, so to speak.
Great battle for sixth. Woodford to the inside. Grabs the position away. Now drives away a bit.
Yeah, Chuck's the younger rider on the Kawasaki squad. He's the guy that Fred Andrews is nervous about. Chuck's getting up there and getting real competitive. And Fred may be a little worried about his ride for next year.
Meanwhile, Mike Lafferty not having the kind of race we thought maybe he would at the start of this. He's in contention at the last round in Kentucky. Kind of mired back in about fourth right now. But it seems like every week, Scott, more and more heads are turning, looking at Jason Raines.
Yeah, Jason's stock is going up. You know, every racer has what we call in the business a promotional value. He influences people. The more races he wins, and the more people say, hey, you know, Jason's doing this, maybe I should do this, maybe that'll allow me to win. So yeah, his stock's going up, and that's good for him because he's worked really hard for that. Now this is a pretty hot race, and in case some of you are wondering, those little hoses that are dangling in front of the riders, you see it right there on Mike Kudrowski, that's a drink system. And when these guys get thirsty, they reach down and grab this little bite valve, and they can draw some juice. Most typically it's water, sometimes Gatorade, or a mixture of Cytomax, maybe a little bit of some kind of energy drink. But they have to do that to keep from getting dehydrated. These guys are working really hard, and that kind of saves them. Lets their body keep functioning at this level for a full 3 hours. You can see the backpack there on Mike Lafferty. Actually, that was a Summers Racing Components drink system. I designed that because the conventional ones didn't have enough volume. I got thirsty about halfway through, and typically drink almost a gallon during these 3-hour races.
And how much weight do you typically lose still?
Well, it's several pounds.
Fred Andrews and Mike Lafferty locked up in a battle for third. Not sure if the Cowie rider knows that Mike is behind him. Guarantee everybody knows that Jason Raines, though, is out in front of this field. We'll be back to Ohio in just a moment. Today's Grand National Cross Country Series race, the Scarecrow, is being brought to you today by MSR Off-Road Riding Apparel. Innovative off-road riding apparel for riders with a single-track mind since 1971. Dave Reef and Scott Summers back with you in Ohio with a single-track mind of our own. We're watching Jason Raines dominate the field once again.
You saw Jason use some finesse around that turn. Basically, he knows how far he can lean the bike over. He trusts his tires, and he makes adjustment. If the bike starts to lean or slide too much, he makes an adjustment, goes around the turn. And there goes Mike Kudrowski.
About 14 seconds back, and here comes Fred Andrews behind him. Green Machine getting ever closer to the front.
Fred lives close by, so he's done quite a bit of riding in this area. He kind of knows the terrain, and that really helps in a race like this.
Smith and Hawkins battling for eighth as Raines is in for the pit stop.
Oh, he's saying his drink system broke, so he wants to get something to drink, but he doesn't really have time to do it.
We'll definitely have to keep an eye on this. Raines is out of liquid. He could be in big trouble with this race barely half over.
Yeah, you want to be able to drink slowly and consistently. One big gulp doesn't really get it. So he's going to be fighting dehydration.
Kudrowski hits the check stop.
Gets rid of his goggles before he pulls in. Getting a drink, getting goggles, getting gas, doing everything simultaneously and all at once. He's gone.
Same story for Fred Andrews. Down and away, his positions first, second, and third will stay the same. Chuck Woodford, seems like the last race in Kentucky, he spent the entire race in fifth and finds himself there once again here in Ohio. There you can see Kudrowski has made up some time. That's Ranger leader going by now. Kudrowski right behind him. And then it's only about another 6 or 7 seconds back to Andrews. Top three about 12 to 13 seconds apart.
And that's Chuck Woodford's mom operating that dry brake. That's not something you see every day and doing a darn good job of it.
Thanks, Ma. Mike Lafferty holds on to fourth. Right now, he's not within earshot of this lead trio. What's Mike Kudrowski do now that he can see Jason Raines? He knows he's the leader.
Well, he's got to be excited. He's got to feel good. He's in position. You know, all you can do in the first 2.5 hours is something to lose the race. The whole 2.5 hours is about putting yourself in position to win the race. And that's exactly where Mike Kudrowski is right now.
How long did it take you to learn that racing strategy?
Well, it took several years. I had to blow it many times before I figured it out.
It's just like golf. I swear it is. I still don't know how to play the smart game there either.
Now Fred, he looks like he's just blasting through the trees. Things are folding around him. He kind of knows which ones he can run into and which ones he can't.
And did you notice? Andrews was in second by the screen there. Kudrowski has fallen back in third.
Fred's on a charge.
I tell you, Fred Andrews really needs a charge too. He has had an up and down season on that green machine. Three finishes in the top five, but also a 22nd the last time out for Fred. So a good finish here. Go a long way to helping him in the points. Woodford, wow. That's tight.
He kind of slammed into that poor Lapper and then looked over at him like it was his fault.
How dare you slow me down?
Well, the Lappers, you know, they sometimes don't really have a grasp on how much faster these top guys are going than they are, and they do their best to get out of the way. But sometimes it's just inevitable that there's a little bit of bumping going on.
Jim Jarrett on that 17 got the whole shot. Now he's just trying to stay in the top 10 as Rodney Smith makes the pass to move into the 8th position.
And Rodney makes it stick, and knowing Rodney's motocross skills, he's probably going to pull away.
Jarrett not ready to give up just yet, though. Blackwell on the 4-stroke. You can really hear it again.
Followed by Barry Hawk. Now Fred Andrews is in the lead.
Hello, we have ourselves a new leader at the Scarecrow. He rides the number 3 machine, and his name is Fred Andrews. Back in a moment. The Scarecrow Grand National Cross Country Series race from Ohio is being brought to you today by Suzuki, maker of innovative motorcycles and all-terrain vehicles. Visit your Suzuki dealer today and see the complete award-winning lineup. Back for the final time at the Scarecrow, watching Fred Andrews hammer down the hill, trying to hold off the MX kid Mike Kudrowski. As dehydration apparently getting the best of Jason Raines.
Yeah, Jason's body knows how to do it right now, but it just won't let him. It's starting to shut down. The heat and just sheer exhaustion. It's got to be difficult. He's got to be really disappointed right now.
Well, hopefully there's enough left in the tank to conserve a good finish, which is going to be critical considering he's leading the series standings. Comes your battle for first. Andrew streaks by. About 5 seconds back to the MX kid.
Now this is where these guys really start pouring it on. They know the track, and if they still have energy, they're using it.
Jason Raines has fallen a position. Lafferty, who we saw in the same section of the track just a moment ago, is now in 3rd. Raines has fallen back to 4th.
Some big dust berms built up on the track. Oh, and Fred Andrews just kills a guy with dirt. That guy's going to have dirt coming out his ears for weeks.
Among other places. You probably never did that to anybody, though, did you?
Oh, no, never. That was Jimmy Jarrett slopping through the water and then coming around that slippery uphill. And back to Fred Andrews, pouring it on.
You know Fred's not going to let off here, especially with Kudrowski's motocross skills right behind him.
Yeah, Fred's got a lot of family and friends, and that always helps your motivation.
Here comes Kedrowski. We now work on the final lap. One more time around. Of course, that's 26 minutes in real time.
Chuck Woodford doing a little double jump. Back to Fred's big silk berm.
They just warm down.
Well, this would be a big kick in the shorts for Fred Andrews, especially the way his season has gotten started. We've talked about him charging from the back of the pack. Oh my goodness.
And that's Mike Lafferty, who's completely buried in the mud hole. This is not a good situation right here.
It's Mark Hyde trying to help him get unstuck. And if you're Jason Raines, you're like, thank you very much. You just gave me a position back. Maybe more. Have to see if Lafferty can get himself unstuck by the time we hit the checker flag. Terry Hawk has moved into 5th place.
And he and Chuck Woodford have been having quite a battle most of the day.
Here comes Andrews for the final time. With Kedrowski nowhere in sight, you got to figure Freddie's back. And the checkered flag makes it official. Fred Andrews has become the 5th different winner in 7 Grand National Cross Country races this season. Kedrowski finishes 23 seconds behind as Raines does get back around Lafferty, but all eyes today on Fred Andrews.
Good race. I've been struggling all year. My bike's been wanting to win, and I've just been holding it back. And I finally got my stuff together and put my Team Chevrolet Kawasaki out front. And man, I just felt like I could go forever. I thought I had it going on this year when I got second. Thought I'd keep it going, and I struggled and struggled. And it seems like second half of the year I'm strong. And man, if I can win, all I'm here to do is win races, and I'll win as many as I can. And hopefully I can jack with the points as much as I can and go from there.
Fred Andrews cracks the top 5, Scott, but that's exactly what we talked about 2 rounds ago. Fred Andrews is a strong second half performer.
Yeah, that seems to happen every year. It's been going on for the 10, 12, 15 years I've been racing with him.
Yeah, you know, I feel real confident right now, and you know, the track was good. It had a lot of kind of fast, and they would go into some tight, ruddy stuff, and it was a good track for me. I felt good. I've been riding good. I've been getting a lot of seconds and top 4s this year, and never any wins out here on the East Coast, but eventually they'll come, and I'm just working hard and do what I have to do.
Next up, we will head to Taylortown, Pennsylvania, home of the Matthews Farms GNCC. What can we expect there?
You know, that's Barry Hawk's hometown, so he should do well up there.
Good times in the Keystone State coming up in 1 week. For Scott Summers, I am Dave Reef. We will see you next time. Grand National Cross Country Racing.